I lost my mom and drove 600 miles to attend her funeral. My wife's only message was, "Don't stay too long. My brother needs you to help move his furniture." I came back grieving. No one asked how I was. Her dad just tossed me a beer and said, "You're not the first guy with mommy issues." That's when I realized. My name is Luke. I'm 37. I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. I've been married to my wife, Tara, for 7 years. No kids, just us. I work in HVAC, nothing fancy, but it pays well enough. 2 months ago, I lost my mom. She lived in Shelbyville, Kentucky. That's where I grew up until I was 18 and left for college. My dad left when I was 9, so it was just me and her. She was everything to me. She raised me on her own, worked double shifts at a diner, and still found time to come to my baseball games. She never complained, never made me feel like a burden. She was strong, but not loud about it. Tara met her maybe 4 times. Never liked her. Thought she was too clingy or too sentimental. My mom didn't fit Tara's idea of what people should act like. Tara came from a family that didn't show much emotion. Her dad, Randy, was the kind of guy who thought crying made you weak. Her mom passed before I met her, so it was just Tara, her dad, and her brother, Wes. Tara's family never made me feel welcome. It always felt like they just tolerated me, like I was a helper, not a husband. I'd fix their toilets, change their oil, move their stuff, but I was never really part of anything. I didn't push back because I thought that's just how families were. Until my mom died. It was a Tuesday morning in February. I was at work when I got the call from a nurse at the hospital in Shelbyville. My mom died in her sleep. Peaceful, they said. I just stood there, staring at the floor. My chest got tight. My eyes burned. I walked outside, called Tara. She answered on the second ring. I said, "My mom's gone. She passed last night." She was silent for maybe 3 seconds. Then she said, "Oh, okay. Are you still going to help Wes move this weekend?" That was all. "No, are you okay?" "No, I'm so sorry. Just her brother's moving day." I didn't argue. I didn't have it in me. I said I'd be driving down to Shelbyville that afternoon. I packed a bag, left a note for my boss, and hit the road. It's a 9-hour drive. I didn't even turn the radio on. I just drove and tried to keep it together. When I got to Mom's house, it felt like walking into a memory. Everything was still in its place, her old lamp, the crochet blankets, the faded photos on the wall. I sat on her couch and sobbed like a child. I stayed there for hours, just sitting with her things, trying to feel close to her. The funeral was small. Just a few cousins and her old friends from church. I gave the eulogy because no one else offered. I talked about how hard she worked and how loved she was. I barely got through it. Afterward, we went back to her place, and I started sorting her stuff. I found a box under her bed with every birthday card I'd ever given her. Even the dumb ones I made in grade school. She kept all of it. I stayed 5 days. Long enough to clean out the house, meet with the lawyer, and make arrangements for the rest of her things. I called Tara once. She asked when I'd be coming back. Didn't ask how I was doing. Just wanted a timeline. When I finally got home, I was exhausted. I'd cried more in 5 days than I had in 10 years. I walked into our driveway and saw Randy, her dad, sitting in a lawn chair on our porch, drinking a beer. He looked at me and said, "So, you back from your mommy's funeral?" I didn't say anything. Then he tossed a can of Coors Light at me and smirked. "You're not the first guy with mommy issues." I didn't catch it. I let it hit the ground. I just stared at him. That was the moment everything clicked. They didn't care. Not about me. Not about my grief. Not about my mom. Not even a little. I went inside. Tara was folding laundry. She didn't look up. "You're finally back," she said. "Wes wants to know if you're still free Saturday." I stared at her for a second, then asked, "Did you even think to ask how it went?" She looked confused. "What?" "The funeral. My mom. The woman who raised me." She rolled her eyes. "I figured if you wanted to talk about it, you would. You don't need me to drag it out of you." That was the kind of thing she always said. She never wanted to deal with anything real. If it wasn't light or funny or about someone else, she shut it down. And I let her. For years. That night, I sat in the living room while she watched one of those dating shows. She laughed at the screen like everything was fine. Like my mom hadn't just died. Like I hadn't spent the week going through the last pieces of my childhood. I realized then I was completely alone in my own marriage. I went to bed without saying a word. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. That's when I started going over every moment in our marriage. Every time she dismissed me. Every time she made me feel small. Every time her family used me. Like when her dad asked me to build that stupid shed in his backyard and didn't even offer me lunch. Or when her brother had me drive 2 hours to help him pick up a used fridge, then made a joke about how I was handier than I looked. Or when Tara said my mom was too emotional and I should grow up already. All of it came back like a tidal wave. That was when the idea started forming. I wasn't going to scream or fight. That's what they'd expect. I was going to hit them where it hurt. Quiet, cold, and clean. I'd been the loyal husband, the helper, the handyman, the emotional punching bag. They never saw me as anything more. That was about to change. They were going to regret every time they looked down on me. And it started with taking back control. The next morning, I got up early. Earlier than Tara. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and started making a list. Not a to-do list. A plan. I wrote down everything I did for them. Rebuilt Randy's deck, painted Wes's garage, lent Tara's cousin $1,000 when her car broke down, installed Tara's new dishwasher, took care of her sick dog while she went to a girls' weekend in Myrtle Beach, fixed her friend's AC unit. For free, covered rent when she got laid off for 2 months, line after line. Things I did because I thought it was love, support, family. I was stupid, so I flipped the paper over and wrote a second list, things I will never do for them again. That list was longer. I started with Randy. He was always the loudest, always acting like I was lucky to be in their family. He was old school, one of those men don't cry types. Thought his opinion was gospel. I stopped answering his texts. I stopped going over when he called me to take a look at something real quick. I ignored his voicemail asking if I could help him haul firewood. Then I called the guy he always badmouthed, his neighbor Steve, and offered him my truck and tools if he ever needed them. Steve used to ask me how I was doing when no one else did. I told him everything Randy ever said behind his back. Randy lost his free labor. Steve stopped inviting him to poker night. Next was Wes. Wes was the kind of guy who treated everyone like his assistant. Lazy but always making big plans. Always moving. Always needing help. That Saturday, when he texted me, "You good to come by around noon?" I didn't respond. At 12:15 he called. I let it ring. Then he texted, "Dude, you said you'd help." I wrote back one word. No. He sent back a bunch of question marks. Then a long paragraph about how I was being selfish and going through something doesn't give you the right to ghost family. I left him on read. Later, he showed up at our house. Tara answered the door. I stayed on the couch. She called out, "Luke, your brother-in-law is here," and pissed. I didn't even look up from my book. She stormed over, arms crossed. "What the hell, Luke? You said you'd help him." I closed the book and said, "I don't know him anything." She stared at me like I was speaking another language. "You're acting like a jerk." I said, "I buried my mom alone last week. None of you even said her name." Silence. She blinked, then scoffed. "So this is what it's about? Your mom again?" That was it. That was the exact sentence that killed whatever love I had left. The next twist came when I started setting things in motion at home. I opened a new checking account in my name. I changed my direct deposit from work. I stopped putting money into our joint account, where Tara usually handled the bills. I didn't tell her. I also found a lawyer. Quietly. Not for divorce. Not yet. I needed more time. More space to make this right. I started keeping notes. Screenshots. Texts. I looked at our shared assets, whose name was on what. I learned a lot real fast. Turns out the house was in my name only. Bought it before we got married. I remembered we never changed that. Suddenly that fact meant everything. I started cleaning up the garage. Not cleaning, organizing. Separating tools that were mine. Making boxes of stuff that belonged to her or her family. I made a pile for donation. A pile for the dump. I labeled it all. She never noticed. She was too busy planning a trip with her best friend to Charleston. Said she needed a break from all the drama at home. She didn't invite me. I encouraged her to go. Even offered to drive her to the airport. I smiled the whole time. The morning of her flight, she was excited. Talked about shopping and spa days. I helped with her bags, gave her a kiss on the cheek, and waved goodbye. The second her car pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. I changed the locks. Took back the keys she'd left in the bowl by the door. Called a locksmith and had the front and back doors rekeyed. Then I packed up everything that wasn't mine. Every throw pillow. Every framed quote. Her entire closet. I stacked the boxes neatly in the garage. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. 3 days later, she called. You changed the locks, she said. Yes, I said. Are you serious? I am. She started yelling, so I hung up. She called back. I didn't answer. She texted, you can't do this. I replied, I already did. Then I sent her a picture of the boxes in the garage. I told her she could pick them up whenever she wanted, but I wouldn't be there. And she had 1 week. After that, I donate what was left. That's when her tone changed. She sent long texts about how I was being unfair and overreacting. Said I was emotionally unstable since my mom died. That last part? That was what pushed me over the edge. She used my grief against me. I called my lawyer the next day and started the paperwork. I wasn't just ending the marriage. I was taking back my life. But I wasn't done yet. They thought I was weak. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The morning after I started the divorce paperwork, I took a walk around the block. The air felt different, lighter. For the first time in years, I felt like I was finally doing something for me. But I knew Tara wasn't going to let go that easily. And I was right. That afternoon, her brother Wes showed up again, this time with Randy. They didn't knock, just pounded on the door like they owned the place. I was in the kitchen drinking coffee. I let them knock for a while before opening it. Randy pushed past me like he lived there. What the hell is going on? He barked. You locked my daughter out of her own house? I didn't even flinch. This house is in my name. She can pick up her things from the garage. Wes stepped forward. You've lost your damn mind. I turned and walked back into the kitchen. You two want coffee? Or just here to throw a tantrum? Randy clenched his jaw. You think you're going to come between my daughter and her home after all we've done for you? I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous. What they'd done for me. I said, you mean after I rebuilt your deck for free? After I drove Wes to that court date because he lost his license and you two were too embarrassed to be seen at the courthouse. Wes stepped toward me like he was going to puff his chest. I didn't move. You think you're some kind of saint, he said. You married into this family. That means you pitch in. That means you show up. I just shook my head. No. It means respect. And none of you have ever shown me any. Randy sneered. You know, Tara was always too good for you. My wife said it, back before she passed. That hit hard. Not because of what he said, but because I knew he believed it. They all believed it. That's when I said, you and your daughter can go to hell. Randy moved fast. Thought he could get in my face. But I stepped back and held up my phone. I've got everything recorded, I said. You touch me, I'll press charges. Then I'll go to the media with every drunk, racist thing you've ever shouted at family barbecues. He froze. Because he knew I had receipts. And I did. I'd started saving voice memos 2 years ago. Randy liked to rant when he drank. He said things that would get him fired, blackballed, canceled, you name it. He stared at me for a second, then turned and walked out. Wes lingered. This isn't over. I said, yeah, it is. Tara came back the next day, knocking on the door like nothing happened. She looked tired. No makeup. Hair messy. No smile. I just want to talk, she said. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. You got 5 minutes. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. I know you're hurting, she said. I didn't know how to help. I didn't know what to say. But locking me out? Throwing away our marriage like this? I stared at her. You don't get to play the victim. I'm not, she said. I'm just trying to fix it. I almost believed her. But then she added, you've always been dramatic, Luke. You hold on to things. That's why your mom. I didn't let her finish. Stop. She blinked. You don't get to talk about her. You didn't show up for me. Not when she was dying. Not at the funeral. Not when I came home and needed you. Silence. You showed me exactly who you are, I said. I'm just finally listening. She got quiet. Real quiet. Then said, you'll regret this. One day. I said, not as much as you will. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just walked to the garage, picked up her boxes, and left. But here's where it gets twisted. 2 weeks later, I got served. Tara was trying to sue me. She claimed I'd emotionally abused her and kicked her out without warning. She wanted alimony. Half the house. Even half my retirement. I couldn't believe it. This woman never paid a mortgage bill. Never contributed to the down payment. Never even looked at our finances. But now she wanted half. The nerve. So I hit back. I sent my lawyer the recordings of Randy yelling slurs at neighbors. I dug up Tara's text messages, the ones where she joked about playing dumb to avoid working and how she trained Luke like a dog. My lawyer smiled. She's not getting a dime. But I didn't stop there. I called up my boss and told him what was going on. I'd worked for him for 8 years. He was like a second father to me. He offered to write a character statement and even said if Tara tried anything dirty, he'd back me up in court. Then I reached out to people in town, told them the truth. Quietly, honestly, no drama. And things started to shift. Wes lost a few clients at his freelance design job. Turns out a couple of them didn't like the idea of hiring someone who mocked grieving spouses and took money from in-laws. Randy's weekend hunting group stopped inviting him. Word got around about the things he'd said. Tara? Well, she didn't like working. But her name got dragged through enough circles that even the temp jobs she tried to apply to didn't call back. I didn't lift a finger. All I did was tell the truth. Let the world see them for who they really were. The court date came fast. Tara showed up in heels and fake tears. Her lawyer tried to paint her as this poor, abandoned wife. Said I was cruel, emotionally unstable, and used grief as a weapon. I let her talk. Then my lawyer stood up. He brought out receipts. Text messages where Tara mocked me for grieving. Screenshots of her laughing about how Luke doesn't even notice how I control everything. Photos of her spending weekends with her friend in Charleston, who turned out to be an old coworker she'd been sexting behind my back for over a year. Then came the audio. Randy, drunk and ranting about lazy minorities, women who need to shut up, and how his son-in-law was a soft-ass mama's boy. The courtroom went dead silent. Even the judge looked disgusted. My lawyer handed over the property papers. House. In my name. Joint account. I showed I hadn't touched a cent since she left. Alimony. The judge laughed. Said Tara should be grateful I didn't charge her for emotional damage. In the end, she walked away with her clothes, her boxed-up decor, and a used Hyundai her dad co-signed for. I kept everything else. But I wasn't done. See, while all this was going on, I'd been working with someone. Remember Tara's old best friend, Melissa? The one she ditched when she leveled up in life? Melissa was a paralegal, and Melissa hated Tara. We'd stayed in touch. Quietly. She helped me connect with a local paper. A real one. One that liked messy local stories. They ran a feature. The funeral that broke a marriage. A small-town man's quiet fight for dignity. It went viral. They didn't use names, but the town knew. And people talked. Suddenly, Tara wasn't getting wedding invites anymore. The same girl she bragged about leading now crossed the street when they saw her. Her old job at the boutique? She tried going back. The owner said it would hurt the brand. Wes? His freelance work dried up. His girlfriend dumped him. She found the messages he sent me calling my mom deadweight. Randy? Lost his seat on the HOA board. Some old recordings leaked to the group chat. The guy who used to bark orders at everyone? Now he mows his own lawn in silence, while neighbors look the other way. As for me, I didn't get out clean either. The whole thing aged me. I lost 15 pounds from stress. For a while, I hated waking up in that house, even though it was mine. I'd walk through the rooms and remember the way Tara used to criticize my taste, my hobbies, my grief. I started therapy, real therapy, not just venting to friends. And it helped. I learned I'd let people walk over me for years because I didn't think I deserved better. I clung to Tara because I was afraid of being alone after growing up without a father. I thought silence was strength. Turns out silence just makes you a target. So yeah, I changed. I started building things again. For me, a real workshop in the garage. I fixed up my mom's old rocker, the one she used to read in. I built a new porch swing like the one we had when I was a kid. And every time I heard the wind blow through those wind chimes I hung up, her old ones, I felt her with me. I don't date now. Not seriously. I take time for myself. Go hiking. Read. Visit Shelbyville every few months and leave flowers at my mom's grave. One time, I sat there and said out loud, I finally stood up for myself, Mom. And I swear to God, the breeze shifted. Like she heard me. Tara? She tried texting me 6 months after the divorce. Said she missed how I made her feel safe. Said, no one else has ever understood her like I did. Said she just wants to talk. I didn't reply. I forwarded the message to her dad and brother. Then I blocked her for good. You see, revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be violent. Sometimes it's just letting people destroy themselves with the truth and watching them fall apart from a safe distance. That's what I did. and I sleep just fine.